It's football and other F words. My name is Zach Lyons, and we're trying to position ourselves right here. There we go. Now that feels better. We got a little bit of room.
I'm taking up too much of the frame.
You're fine. You're fine. Don't worry about it. We're there. Football and other F words brought to you by Bluegrass Beverages in Hendersonville, Tennessee. Go there for all your liquor needs. They've been around for 50 years. That's longer than the Senior Bowl's been around. Did you know that?
Is that right?
I don't know. That's not a verifiable fact, but that sounds like
Are
it.
there not signs everywhere saying this is the 75th annual?
I thought it was 75 years that Jackson State's been around. Jacksonville State.
This is South
Alabama.
Buddy.
That's what I said.
Okay.
But I thought that's what it was. But this is the Senior Bowl. We're here. We're going to try and work into some of your questions. So make sure that you drop them in the comments section.
There we go.
The Collinsworth slide. I should have done that like this. The Collinsworth slide for those on YouTube looks pretty good.
Perfect.
Thank you, QC Hawk. Thank you guys for joining us, YouTube, everything. But we could not be down at the Senior Bowl if it not for our travel sponsor, Lions Ford, which is right down here. If you're looking at lionsford.net, Lewisburg, Tennessee. Guess what? My last name is Lyons. That place is called Lions. So I'm giving you a guarantee you are going to get the best deal on a new car, on a pre-owned car, no matter what. If you go down to Lions Ford, Lewisburg, Tennessee, go to lionsford.net, text them, call them, email them. It doesn't matter. Get on the website and chat. Whatever your car needs are, they have a full parts department, a full service department, and they have a popcorn machine. And to me, that is everything.
Gourmet popcorn or good popcorn?
Good popcorn. We're talking like
good popcorn.
Movie theater style popcorn, and that's what matters. So we're down at the Senior Bowl, obviously, but there's a lot of NFL news, a lot of Titans news, a lot of things to discuss that we're trying to keep up with. Mm-hmm. So we also had some discussions about Derrick Henry. We had some discussions about Mike Vrabel on our way down. So we wanted to share that stuff to you. If you want the detailed, the juicy gossip, the Senior Bowl scuttlebutt, what we think about our prospects, what we think about what we've seen, detailed stuff, stackingtheinbox.com will have a video later today for you. This will just be a little bit of an overview. This is like an appetizer.
Yeah.
A amuse-bouche, if you will, of Senior Bowl information heading your way. But we're mainly going to be talking about Tennessee Titans, and we need to start with all the staff changes that have happened for the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah.
And we're going to get into trouble here because I'm going to try and remember all this off the top of my head of what is going on. We know that, first off, let's talk about what the state of the NFL is right now. The Commanders, the most attractive free agent job or attractive head coaching job, does not have a head coach.
And now their golden child, Ben Johnson, decides to stay with Detroit.
Ben Johnson stays. Ben Johnson decides to stay. Mike McDonald goes to Seattle, who would have been a perfect hire, a fit with Adam Peters. It's kind of crazy that everybody thinks Adam Peters is the San Francisco golden boy, the heir apparent to John Lynch. And that's why he wasn't taking jobs. I guess that changed maybe in San Francisco. But Rand Carthon won. Adam Peters 0 in the head coaching search right now. So just want to throw that out there.
Yeah.
We got thoughts. JT Runk has said thoughts on tacos. We love tacos, and we eat tacos normally like a normal person.
I like to deep throat one every once in a while.
Yeah, but I mean, do you like cup it?
Cup it. You got to pay attention to the I'm not going to go that far. This is a football show.
Yeah,
you don't have to get into that kind of.
That is for sure. It was an interesting thing to witness last night, to say the least. Interesting would be putting it mildly.
I ate my hot dog like that today just to kind of see what it would feel like.
You did.
And it's it's not bad.
I thought about taking a picture, but I did not want us to get shut down and thrown out of the Senior Bowl. Too saucy, not safe for Senior Bowl.
Yeah, that's true.
NSF,
we put that on the
SB.
OnlyFans.
Yep. So we got all that happening, which leads to, Mike McDaniel taking the Seattle Seahawks job.
Yes.
Which brings us to Denard Wilson, who we both are pretty high on. And the coaching search so far for the Tennessee Titans has been relatively newcomers. Not a lot of old heads coming through those doors.
Defensive back coaches, too.
Yes, defensive back coaches, specifically the Browns defensive backs coach, whose name escapes me currently.
Brandon Lynch.
Yes, Brandon Lynch.
Take a stab.
You are correct. You nailed it.
All right.
Now that you said it, Brandon Lynch, Denard Wilson. Shane Bowen is kind of being kept around as well, kind of lingering out there, even though his assistant coaches are dropping like flies all around him.
What do you think they told him? Like, hey, will you just hang back and a little bit and just kind of let us see how this whole thing
unless he quits
down?
I mean there ain't nothing he can do because he's under contract. And that's what matters right now, is that
it's wild.
So with Mike Macdonald taking the job with Seattle,
who I'm a fan of, by the way,
right, we both are. So you got Denard Wilson. Is he going to go with him? Is he going to get the Ravens defensive coordinator job? Or let's be honest here, he's done a virtual interview. He's done an in-person interview. The Titans have now satisfied the Rooney Rule with Brandon Lynch. So I'm thinking, like, to me, it's like he's just got to choose, right? So choose your own adventure for Denard Wilson.
Yeah.
And he will likely not call the plays in Seattle. So why go there?
Mm-hmm.
He may have the chance to do that here in Baltimore, but what if they bring back Don Martindale?
I don't know. I mean, is Martindale going to get another run, you think?
Yeah. Somewhere he will. Okay. I would be very surprised if he didn't. Of course, Brandon Staley has not taken a job yet. Now that McDaniel's gone, you could bring Brandon Staley and probably never miss a beat. So at some point, though, Denard Wilson has to, and for lack of a better phrase, shit or get off the pot and decide what's going to happen. And maybe this is his only option. We may never know. But I'm all in on some Denard Wilson. I'm going to be very disappointed if it's not Denard Wilson in Tennessee.
I am too. And the question I was going to ask you, is it a foregone conclusion that he would be the candidate to be elevated to the defensive coordinator position, which it already sounds like you've said might be a chance we get old Wink in there.
Yeah, well, you got Anthony Weaver as a possibility. Of course, he's also on the Commander's job head coaching board. You also have Zach Orr, who's their linebackers coach, who's who's highly regarded.
Yeah,
but haven't seen anybody say, well, they could bring back Martindale.
Yeah, and two, like, which would you choose? Which seems like the better situation from the standpoint of your professional resume as a coach?
I would say that you would get more recognized and probably, if you maintain the level of success with the Ravens, then they know that, hey, that guy is the next Mike Macdonald.
Yes.
Okay. If you are looking, if you're looking at us, I would say that you may have more room for improvement because there's nothing here. Like, with the Ravens, there's like, okay, well, you still got Kyle Hamilton, Roquan Smith, and all these other guys.
The question would be, is the result the byproduct of coaching or
the prior coach's system that's put in place, or the players?
If you come here, it's, if you can turn this defense around, it's probably because you're a good coach.
Yeah.
Pretty cut and dry.
Well, flip it to the offensive side of the ball. Nick Holes was a guy that was the first guy mentioned. Eric Studesville, Thad Lewis, which is a very interesting name. But again, out of all the coordinators that are being interviewed right now, Eric Studesville's the oldest, and he's late 50s.
Yeah.
And I think that's a sign of the times that I feel like you're not going to have a lot of recognizable names. The most recognizable and tenured name could be Justin Otten staying on staff.
Yeah, which is interesting because as of this recording, they're calling the cops on us now. I don't know what's going on here. Blue lights flashing in the distance. It came out today that Justin Otten's still hanging around,
and
which I thought he was one of the names that we've discussed. I don't know if it's been publicly or not, but we talked about him as a guy that potentially could stick around under Brian Callahan. Good football coach.
Oh, he's a good football coach. He's kind of a diverse background and experience and stuff like that. And that seems to me like when I look at a guy like Thad Lewis or Brandon Lynch. Brandon Lynch has been with the Browns, but he's also been with East Carolina. Yeah. He's been in the college ranks for a while. But Thad Lewis is interesting because he's learned from under Chip Kelly.
Yes.
So people, and we heard a couple of weeks ago, or maybe just last week now, everything's blending together, but there was rumblings while we were in Chattanooga that Chip Kelly may be getting a job back in the NFL. There are people interested in Chip Kelly. Well, why not get a Chip Kelly disciple in Thad Lewis, who has done wonders, of course, with the Buccaneers and worked up, but it's very limited. But he also interviewed for the Buccaneers offensive coordinator position. Yeah. So he's a wanted man as well. And we know that Pat O'Hara is gone. We know that Jason Hotelling is gone. We know that Charles London is left. We know that Tim Kelly is gone. We know that Rob Moore, Tony Dews. ain't much left besides Justin
No.
Otten in that room and maybe some assistants. And then over on the defensive side, you have both linebacking coaches went out the door in Zach Orr. Ryan Crow's not being kept around either. Not Zach Orr. Bob. Fuck. I don't know his name. But I was thinking the last guy is like Zach something as well, the assistant linebackers coach. Lord Locust is still hanging around. You got Terrell. Coach T is still around.
Yeah.
Chris Harris, I don't think has been officially let go, if I'm not mistaken. But
not that I've seen.
And of course Shane Bowen. So here's the question for you, and this is a question from Andrew in the chat. How much longer do you think till we hear who the coordinators are?
I don't know. I mean, Brian Callahan said that he's not in any rush to get this done. They're not. The volume of interviews is nowhere near the volume that they had for the head coaches, where it felt like every couple of hours we were hearing a new name in the head coaching search. But it doesn't seem like that's the case with the coordinators. It's been very slow, very deliberate. And I kind of think the longer this goes on, the longer it's going to go on, if that makes sense.
Oh, well, that's very insightful. I will say this. What are the chances that Coach T is down here auditioning right now for a defensive coordinator position with the Tennessee Titans?
Could be, man. I wouldn't be surprised. We were making jokes about him still being on the field in all his Titans gear, like wearing the Titans hoodie out there. We're like, oh, he must still be, maybe he knows something that we don't. He's still, brand loyal. But I like him. His players like him. I think it could be a case where they're kind of keeping an eye on things, and maybe, the wild card here is that if he's down here focusing on coaching responsibilities, can he not make time for an interview? Are they just kind of holding out, like keeping a few pieces in place so that once the Senior Bowl's over with and we go back to life as normal, maybe we see that Coach T gets brought in for an interview?
What do you think about this? Because we got home last night, and I was like, well, I wonder what Jared's lineup on his show was. Yeah. And it was about 30 tweets. And Andrew brings it up, not Jared, but he just wondered. He's just thinks it's weird.
Yeah.
But Jared, of course, goes overboard with it about him not being down here, Rand Carthon not being down here. They're interviewing. They're talking to the staff. They're doing all of this. There's a difference between, to me, slow playing it. Okay.
Yeah.
Which they're doing, they're doing their due diligence, and then just like throwing it to the wayside, and they're not really doing anything. I've seen Mike Tomlin. I've seen Nick Caserio. But other than that, there's not been a lot of action on the sidelines of coaches and GMs. It's mainly been scouts, it feels like.
Yeah.
So I don't think this is a big to-do or big deal that he's not down here. But
I don't think so either.
But I do want to say that I think that what they're doing is they're going through the entire staff. It's not just the coaches. They're interviewing the strength and conditioning department people. They're interviewing other people, and they're doing it together in the sense of collaboration. They're setting up interviews. There's probably a lot of interviews that we haven't heard because maybe the offensive line requesting to talk to an offensive line for the Tennessee Titans open position just doesn't get the headlines like Seahawks and what's going on with the Commanders. So we may not know, but I don't think it's a big issue that they're not down here. In fact, I have seen several teams with in fact, the Giants team was right behind us earlier. They're just they film.
Yeah.
They film, and then everybody can watch it back at the office. And so I don't think there's a big thing to have to be here because, I mean, the senior, you've discussed this, I believe, with Cole Strange, if I'm not mistaken. But it's just speed dating.
It really is. That's what Cole Strange called it. He said that it's speed dating. You go in a room and they just kind of rotate the scouts, the personnel people. I don't even know if these prospects really know who they're talking to. They just see the logo on the shirt and they're like, oh, I talked to the Titans this week. You know, that kind of deal. And those are, even then, they're not like these really extensive interviews. You get like 10, 15 minutes with everybody, and then you might do it again later in the week. And that's that.
All right. You ready to make some people mad?
We're going to make some people mad?
I think we're going to make some people mad. People are going to get upset. People are going to call us crazy.
I think I know what you're about to ask.
We got two topics that we talked about on the way up.
Yeah, we did.
I think I'm going to start with the Mike Vrabel topic.
You don't want to. You don't want to tick people off and then try to win them back on the back end.
I don't know.
Okay.
I think we'll win them back with our Senior Bowl coverage. Okay.
Okay. I like that.
So here's where I'm at on Mike Vrabel. I believe Buck was going to say something today on his show, and we have not listened to his show, so I'm sure it was some kind of spin from Vrabel's side that, oh, well, he wasn't really interested in any of these jobs, and he's going to take a year off, or whatever the spin may be. But the fact of the matter is, nobody wanted Mike Vrabel, seriously considered Mike Vrabel, and we got to thinking, why does everybody think it's just an automatic that Mike Vrabel is going to get a job in 2024? Let's run through, because first off, you have 8 teams already going to be knocked off the list because they're the ones that hired a head coach this year.
Yeah.
And
so that right away, we're down to 24.
We're down to 24. We know that, and that includes obviously Tennessee Titans. Then you got the guys that hired people last year that found success. We went through all 32 teams and taken into account that, okay, let's say the Jaguars failed to make the playoffs this year in 2024.
Does Doug Peterson
get fired?
Start to warm
okay,
up?
So maybe the Jaguars is one of our big maybes.
Yeah.
Could look at pivoting from an offensive coach that seems to have some issues down in Jacksonville, who has had issues with players before. Maybe they go offensive head coach there, or defensive head coach, and bring in Mike Vrabel if they fire Peterson.
Rein in the roster a little bit, the locker room.
It's a good situation, but then you're taking a coach that knows the other team pretty well, even though it's a different vibe, I guess you could say. So I kind of am thinking, okay, maybe Jacksonville. Okay. Maybe Dallas. But now you have Ben Johnson out there, and I'm kind of thinking that maybe he's waiting for Mike McCarthy to get fired.
And Bobby Slowick.
Bobby Slowick could be out there. So do they go from Mike McCarthy to Mike Vrabel? That is a pivot. So that's the big thing in the NFL, is to kind of pivot from one person to another in terms of philosophy. And I think the only other one that we thought of was maybe the Giants.
Well, I lobbied for the Eagles because of some of the reports coming out of Philadelphia about Nick Sirianni, and maybe he's on the hot seat in 2024, and maybe he doesn't have full control or support of the locker room, and they need a guy that can kind of unify people and kind of stabilize the culture there. Maybe he would be there. We talked about the Giants, but also your question was
like, isn't he just like defensive Brian Dable at this point in terms of personality and everything? That's kind of where I was at. We also kind of floated out the Buccaneers, but then if you get rid of Todd Bowles, are you really going to hire a defensive head coordinator?
And we ran into that situation
a
few teams.
Matt Eberflus would be another one. So like there's like Mike Tomlin would be another one if he for some reason were to get fired. There's a lot of defensive head coaches that could get fired theoretically, but you're not going to go to Mike Vrabel. I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that Mike Vrabel gets a job in 2024. And I think that we need to, what we have learned now in this offseason, we all should be adjusting the thought of the NFL, how they view Mike Vrabel.
Yeah.
And I think that the media really respects him. I'm not so sure. I'm sure they respect him, but I'm not so sure these league owners really are looking for a Dan Quinn or Mike Vrabel anymore.
Well, and my question to you, this was right after he was fired, and
Kenneth is where we both have talked about this, but I agree with Kenneth.
That's where we're going. Yeah.
I think it's Ohio State.
Yeah. But I asked you, if we found out after the fact that Amy Adams Strunk went to a brain trust of football people around the league and talked to them about her decision. If we are to believe that Vrabel was so difficult to work with that ultimately she decided to sever ties, cut bait, and move forward into the modern NFL, does he think that this is not going to get around NFL circles? And if that's the case, and if this reputation is out there among the decision makers, again, the distinction here is we're not talking about the media here. We're talking about the people that fire and hire everyone in the organization, the owners. If he does have a little bit of a stink on him from this incident, how does that impact the perception of him moving forward?
Yeah, and Kenneth does bring up a good point, because you brought it up too, was Vrabel hates the NIL and hates recruiting or hates the NIL. But to me, it's like, Now with the introduction of NIL is just free agency in my mind.
And
But
they
the
have
NIL, they have
to
people.
handle it.
They have whole departments to handle this. And I don't know if maybe Mike Vrabel, especially if you have a guy like Stretch, you could bring with you. Mike Vrabel may not have to do any of the stuff that has to do with NIL, and he could just probably coach because they got deep pockets anyway at Ohio State. Let the alumni handle all that stuff.
Yeah, and seeing how this coaching cycle went for him has kind of made me rethink my opinion on his going to the college ranks. And then you brought up the NIL staffers that handle all the stuff so that he theoretically wouldn't even have to do it. And it sounds like a sweet deal, but if he wants to be a head coach, man, I don't know that it's a given that he's going to get that opportunity in the NFL again.
I agree. Okay, let's get some people riled up.
Okay, here we go. All right.
Okay, so we were talking about Derrick Henry on the way down.
I thought this was behind closed doors, said in confidence that you wouldn't tell the whole world on the internet what I was saying in that car.
Well, we talked about Derrick Henry on the way down, and I brought this up, and we were talking about how people have taken the words of Brian Callahan to mean that, oh, well, Derrick Henry's for sure going to that. Because and everybody's focusing in on the leadership of Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's if he's got the leadership that I would pay for.
So you told me that in the car ride on the way home, and my response was, after a brief period of silence as we each contemplated the question,
what I just said.
I turned to you and I said, have we really seen Derrick Henry be the vocal leader?
Well,
and I don't think we have.
We've seen Tajay Spears be the vocal leader while Derrick Henry's on the sidelines doing nothing. I think people confuse Derrick Henry's on-field performance as leadership. And listen, we're not in the locker room, but Derrick Henry's words himself on Bussin' with the Boys was, we're sitting here during this losing streak. I'm looking around the locker room. We're having a terrible year. I'm looking around the locker room, and I don't know who I go to.
Yeah.
You're that guy, dude. You're that guy. You're the guy that you should be rallying the troops, and he's not. So, what are you paying for? You can't say, I think saying, well, you got to have locker room leadership. You got to bring back Henry to have locker room leadership. Well, I don't know where's the evidence that is correct.
Yeah, and especially if you already have a guy that figures to step up and replace him
that
is already showing those things,
including Will Levis. We don't even talk about Will Levis.
It's encouraging, man. Now, I do think that you can lead by example, and I think it's encouraging for guys to see him go out there and break off a 99-yard run. It's encouraging for guys to see him in the weight room, the freakish things that he
feels
does.
Like he's more inspiration than leaderation.
Yeah.
Is that a word, leaderation?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. But I think for the fiery rah-rah, gather everybody around, fire you up, let's go win this game, I just don't think we've seen that with Derrick Henry.
It's only been via a big run, like you said.
Yeah.
We've never seen him be the Jeffrey Simmons guy on the sidelines. We've never seen him be the Will Levis guy coming off the field. We've never seen him be Tajay Spears, just chatting up everybody, trying to keep them motivated during a Miami Dolphins game. And I can't think of a time that I've seen that Derrick Henry. It's always been he's more of an inspirational symbol via his actions on the field than he has been the guy that's going. And the Bussin' with the Boys stuff, I was just like, you're that guy. That's you.
And man, what happens then if he's not breaking those long runs anymore?
Not getting those carries.
But then you got into like the dead money, the cap situation, the contract. And I land on it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense for this team to invest what it would require to keep his services at a time when they are shifting in philosophy. It's a new regime. It's a new quarterback. Seems like it's going to be a new offense. I don't think that's a stretch to say at this point. Like at this point,
it's a new team.
The window's closed. The door has closed. It's on to the new era of Titans football.
And he's also said, and I think this is to me, this point supersedes anything else we have just said. This point here is everything you need to know about the Derrick Henry situation. He wants to compete for a Super Bowl. That ain't happening here. I'm sorry, everybody. So. That's not happening here by the time that he's any good. No. I mean, he will be over the hill, past his prime, well before the Titans are competing for a Super Bowl again.
Yeah.
They may be playoff contenders, but they're not Super Bowl contenders. I think we can all agree on that. And if that's his big thing, this ain't the place for him. And that's fine. That is fine.
Send
he
him
does
to
not
Dallas.
have to retire here.
Right off to Baltimore.
If you think that he has to retire here to like him or to enjoy or to appreciate him, I think you're doing it all wrong and forgetting that you still appreciate Steve McNair. You still appreciate Derek Mason. You still appreciate the guys that have gone elsewhere. And don't worry about it.
Listen, Derrick Henry at this point is probably one of, if not my favorite Titans of all time. Like, this run has been so special to be a part of, and we will always have that as fans, but we've got to know when it's time to move on.
All right, Stoney, we are cruising through this episode. This will be the shortest Football and Other F Words podcast in a long time.
We got to get to Winsel's, buddy.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm ready to cook. And you know what? People do like shorter content sometimes. So
That's true.
Senior Bowl guys that you wanted to kind of put on the people's radar, right? Guys that you have not, that they may not know. Like a guy that I would give an example that you have talked to me about would be like Charles Turner or Bo Limmer.
Yes, absolutely. Love Bo Limmer. Love the pop there. I like Delmar Glaze quite a bit. I wrote about these guys, all three of them, in depth on stackingtheinbox.com. That piece is live, so you can go and subscribe and get it right away. But there are some feisty offensive linemen here. I don't think so. I know everybody's thinking left tackle, but I don't think there's what the Titans need right now is a franchise left tackle, right? If you're going to take a left tackle, it needs to be 7th overall. It needs to be Alt or Fashanu, right? That guy's not here in Mobile, but you do get some quality action on the right side of the line. I like this guard from Utah. He's really impressed me today. Eguakon, the center out of Florida, has been good. Again, these are all guys that I think could come in and contribute at center, at right guard, compete. There are some right tackles down here. They're probably not going to be in play for Talisi Fuaga. He's probably going to be a first-round pick, but
well, we have a question about Talisi Fuaga.
We do.
And if you'll give me 1 second, I'll scroll up to find it. This is from Team Ramrod 27. Seems to be growing momentum with the big-name draft media guys that Fuaga could go as high as likely as like the top 7. As high as like the top 7. How would you feel if the Titans drafted him at 7 overall over even a J.C. Latham, who is considered a better right tackle prospect?
I still wouldn't take Fuaga over Latham right now. I would not take Fuaga at 7th overall because I do think he has some limitations in pass protection. He is a big, immovable dude that will put you in the dirt. He will knock you on your ass, but I don't see the smooth, gliding, athletic pass set guy that I feel like Brian Callahan and this Titans offensive staff is going to want at right tackle. So I think he'd be more of like a luxury that you take later on. And I haven't heard the draft buzz that he's creeping up into the top 10. I think he's kind of a fringe first rounder, late 20s at the earliest, but maybe a possibility that he kind of slides because of those limitations on day 2. I will say, though, to that point, he has done well to address some of those concerns this week. He looked good in pass pro today. They had him out there, and he just wins with his punch, man. He just stabs you in the chest, and you just stop moving.
Let's say the Titans draft a wide receiver.
Yes.
Okay. 7th overall, they draft a wide receiver. You're sitting there at 38. And you're looking at Fuaga, who somehow has fallen. Okay, let's say that Fuaga has fallen for whatever reason. Let's say we're skip that.
We're gonna skip Fuaga. We're done with Fuaga.
Fuaga has been drafted.
Okay,
we're sitting at 38. Patrick Paul or Quinyon Mitchell.
Oh man, I've been crying for the Titans to invest like good draft capital and cornerbacks for the last couple of seasons.
And they have drafted good draft capital. They just have not drafted good players.
Yeah, except for Roger McCreary.
Yes.
But he's an inside guy. I think I would go Mitchell.
I
think I would go Mitchell.
Okay, so you go Mitchell. You don't have a 3rd round pick, 4th round pick. Give the people a tackle prospect in the 4th round. You have to do it. Someone that can start.
I think Kingsley Suamatia might still be there. Suamatia, I don't know.
How was he today?
I think he's been okay this week. I am not as high on him as a lot of other people. I know that there are a lot of like draft nerds that are super, super high on him, but
Yeah,
I don't
nerds.
think his tape is all that great. I don't know what they're looking at. I mean, James Foster told me to watch his Oklahoma tape. I haven't watched his Oklahoma game, but I'll watch that and maybe reevaluate. I think he's been good here. Guys were throwing rip moves at him today, and he's kind of like Fuaga, and his frame is like thick, portly kind of guy. He was just immovable. Like guys were throwing moves at him and he just wasn't moving. But I think it's in pass protection and like understanding his assignment sometimes where I think he drifts and gets lost a little bit. He looked a little like a deer in headlights against Texas, but he's had an okay week here. And I think he has the frame, the size, and the athleticism that you look for in a left tackle. So you're kind of in a position where you're taking a guy based on the traits and hoping that depending on who the offensive line coach is, you can kind of mold him into a starter.
I want to talk about a few positions that the Titans do kind of need to address. It doesn't necessarily have to be at the draft, but hey, we're at the Senior Bowl, so we need to talk about the Senior Bowl, right? The draft starts in Mobile.
The draft starts in Mobile.
The drafts start at Winslow-Slater.
Hey, all right.
The running back position, there's been a few guys. I want to highlight two, Amani Bailey and Dylan Lobby, which you both can read about over at stackinginbox.com. But they are two guys that seem to be able to do it all. And Amani Bailey is your Isaiah Pacheco.
I was about to say.
And to me, if you are looking, listen, I don't know what you thought that maybe he goes undrafted free agent. He may be a sixth rounder or seventh rounder, but if you get him in the 6th or 7th round, that's a better use of resources than re-signing Derrick Henry or any free agent running back, correct?
Yeah, I would agree with that wholeheartedly. I still think that they could add a free agent thumper kind of running back.
And let me say this, by the way, because we talked about this on the way down. I think everybody's viewing the running back position for the Tennessee Titans wrong and not how it is over at Cincinnati.
Yeah,
because everybody's used to, we always got to have a pass catching back, and then we got to have a between the tackles guy, or just get two guys that could do everything, and you don't have to worry about anything, like Zach Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker, like Joe Mixon and Chase Brown. Just get two guys that could do everything and don't worry about it.
I think if you end up with Spears and Bailey, though, I think you might want a more physical, short yardage kind of running back just in case.
So that would be Julius Chestnut, maybe. I don't know.
Maybe it is Julius Chestnut. Yeah,
but I don't know. I feel like Amani Bailey and Tyjae Spears, I don't know if you need to go up the middle necessarily, but I think the offensive line could.
Yeah.
They'll open up the holes. Because Isaiah Pacheco, he goes up the middle. Chase Brown, Joe Mixon, they both do it. So get those guys. Don't get a Derrick Henry. There is no Derrick Henry anymore.
There's not. Everybody wants.
Don't get into Zeke Elliott.
Yeah, everybody wants another Derrick Henry, but he's one of one.
Well, one of one.
Give up the ghost.
Wide receivers. I would say that the wide receiver that fits the bigger, stronger, faster down here is Ryan Flournoy.
Yeah, I like
it. Xavier Legette the ball.
Legette.
He does not do anything for me. And
really
I know that there are people that really liken him to A.J. Brown. I don't see it. I think that Justin Graver, Music City Audible, said it best. He reminds me more of Laviska Shenault. I can see it. He's not wowing anybody, and I think Dane Brugler has said it best. He's been on Xavier Legette's head this whole freaking week.
Yeah,
but he's like, I don't see how people even have him in the 2nd round, and I think I agree. I am anti-Legette, and I am pro. I'm a Flournatic. Ryan Flournoy, he has shown everything. He has shown speed. He has shown technique. He has shown the ability to catch. He's shown the ability to climb the ladder. He can do it all.
Stop.
That guy is bigger, stronger, faster. Ryan Flournoy.
Concentration at the point of the catch down the field.
Talking about a guy that has been hand clocked at a 4.35 40 time.
Yeah, that's nuts.
He's
a freak.
This guy's going to be a freak. He's going in the 2nd round. I can guarantee it.
Do you know if he's got a combine invite?
I do not, but we'll check that later.
Yeah, we'll check up on that.
To me, that is the guy. That is the guy here that screams Cincinnati Bengals, Tennessee Titans, bigger, stronger, faster.
Yeah, and some of the receivers that I've liked just in general, Roman Wilson has been pretty good. I think Ricky Pearsall had a couple of rough plays yesterday, but I think
today
he's rebounded. He looks pretty good. And then I'm not giving up on Luke McCaffrey yet. This dude was clocked at like 21 miles an hour or something yesterday.
Yeah.
And he's a really clean route runner, really effective in defensive back manipulation at the line of scrimmage. I thought he's had a good week so far.
Now, Easton is chiming in saying that Leggett had a couple of really nice reps and he's acquitted himself nicely. But Easton also said right before he left that he was one of the guys that didn't watch practice and didn't pay attention. So, as obviously someone is feeding him that information, like he eats a taco. So, I would assume that Leggett, from everything I saw, yeah, he had a couple of nice plays. He had a couple of nice plays yesterday. But if you're talking a second-round wide receiver, I don't see it.
Yeah, he's been really inconsistent, and we kind of dove into the why we've been unimpressed specifically with him on Stacking the Inbox.
Yeah.
There's video up there. Is it up there now?
It is.
It is up there now.
Not the one that we did just a few minutes ago. That one will be up there later.
Well, later tonight, we'll dig into Xavier Leggett more.
Yeah, and it's all about the expectation set. If you're talking about a guy that's maybe there in the third round or fourth round, oh, yeah, I'd take a chance on Leggett in the third or fourth. But
sure.
First or second round talk is out the door for me. And the A.J. Brown comparisons are out the door for me as well.
Everybody wants an A.J. Brown. There's been an A.J. Brown in every draft since 2019.
Yeah, right. Malachi Corley is another guy that I've really liked. And I just want to say, yeah, he's sarcasm. Malachi Corley is a guy that I felt like talk about a guy that actually acquitted himself from yesterday.
Yeah.
Malachi Corley looked like he lived up to the Deebo Samuel comps. I really like him. He's a guy to keep on your radar.
Conference USA Deebo.
Yeah, we'll keep you updated on all these guys. Cornerbacks, we've already mentioned Quinyon Mitchell. I think he's going in the first round. I don't think he's going to be there at 38. But Chris Abrams-Drain, Jarvis Brownlee Jr.
Yeah.
And
the kid from Fresno State.
Yes, Fresno State. The kid from Fresno State has done well. Nehemiah Pritchett has done well. So if you're talking about fourth, this Senior Bowl is littered with quality fourth-round cornerbacks.
Yes, I agree wholeheartedly, and we didn't even get to Andrew Phillips. I'm a big Andrew Phillips guy.
Darius Robinson has apparently just been shooting up the boards.
Big long boy.
We like Darius Robinson. I don't think he's going to be in play at the right time for the Tennessee Titans, because I don't think you take him in the second round, right?
I mean, I wouldn't, but I mean,
you wouldn't be mad?
I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with his draft stock.
Yeah,
because there's some tweets out there.
Well, there's some tweets
that are kind of speculative of his draft stock soaring as high as maybe even night one.
Yeah,
and I don't see it, but I admit that I have not watched enough tape on him to have a thorough evaluation of him just yet.
He shows up, but he's
what he's doing down here is impressive though.
I feel like he's a more athletic Harold Landry. He's not a closer on his sacks, but Ty Worth had told me this a long time ago. The biggest stat that he looks for isn't sacks in college; it's quarterback hurries, because for whatever reason those translate.
Yeah,
he has a lot of quarterback hurries, and Darius Robinson is having a hell of a week. I don't know if anybody has helped their draft stock from maybe fourth or fifth rounder to fringe day two.
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe even day one.
Yeah.
I mean, he is to the moon right now for Darius Robinson.
It has been, yeah.
I don't know if we agree with that, but that's what's happening down here.
I like him a lot, but I don't know that I'm ready to jump that high for him. I'm thinking about the Harold Landry comp, and I feel like I don't know Harold Landry's measurements, but just looking at the two in my mind's eye, which we all know is 100%
he's a little bit more
accurate.
Muscle.
I think he's more muscular, more ripped, and a little bit longer too.
Yeah, he may be.
I think there's more explosiveness.
Yeah, I definitely think that there's definitely way more explosiveness. But he's had a good Senior Bowl, someone to keep on your radar. And Jordan Jefferson, we've talked about him a little bit, but also
strong boy.
I kind of want to talk about Tavondre Sweat at some point.
Okay.
People aren't in love with Tavondre Sweat's Senior Bowl so far, and James Foster of No Flags Films, and he may be talking about this on the Hot Read podcast later, but he had mentioned that Tavondre Sweat's pass rush win rate and all that kind of stuff is kind of it's a bunch of bull hockey.
He is he's a really big dude, really powerful, and when he can just do that,
is he going to be the guy everybody overthinks?
Maybe I don't know. So yesterday everybody was mad because the defensive line for the American team they're basically just bull rushing all day. Like there wasn't a wide set of pass rush moves that they were applying. We are still allowed here, aren't we?
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah, there's still people around here working. Not a wide array of pass rush moves yesterday. They did more of that today, but people were kind of like, like these guys aren't doing much of anything. And then today they come out and they're using a little more of that stuff, but not T'Vondre Sweat. T'Vondre Sweat is still out there just bull rushing guys. And after our conversation with James, I am kind of rethinking him like, you know what? Like maybe if you just need some of that, you need some beef in the middle of your defensive line. This is a guy that can win.
Okay, well, if you put T'Vondre Sweat next to Jeffrey Simmons, are you sweating?
I don't think I would like that.
Okay, wow. I'm a little surprised.
Well, I feel like it's going to be I feel like he's one of those guys that has the hype that if we're to believe, I mean, he could be one of these prospects that tumbled down the draft board after a week like this, where some of his shortcomings are a little more exposed in this setting. But where we stand right now, the draft capital that I think it would require to get him, I'm not on board with the Titans using to get him.
Okay, that will. I think that's good. If you want more Senior Bowl stuff,
I think he's projected as a day 2 guy.
We have moved on past it.
I'm still thinking. Interesting questions you ask.
But that will do it for us. Senior Bowl coverage.
StackingTheInbox.com
is where you'll get even more in-depth coverage. We'll keep an eye on some T'Vondre Sweat. We'll do some Sweat stock watch day 3.
How about that?
And tomorrow morning, 8:30 a.m. on YouTube, on Twitter, on Facebook. We'll be there to give you our preview for the last day of practices, day 3. It has gone by really quick. And then, of course, we will be here for the game. We're one of there's thousands of media members. There will be 20 media members actually stay for the game that are up in that booth. But we'll be there. We hopefully won't be as hungover as we were last time. We'll give you all of our information. We'll have a top 50. We'll do everything that we did last year. That's going to give you the most information, the most bang for your buck. StackingTheInbox.com. That will do it for us. This has been Football and Other Efforts, sponsored by Bluegrass Beverages of Hendersonville, Tennessee. Been around just as long, maybe if not longer, than the Senior Bowl. We don't know. We'll have to fact check that. But 50 years, Bluegrass Beverages, Hendersonville, Tennessee. And, of course, we have Lions Ford, lionsford.net, Lions Ford of Lewisburg, Tennessee, which is only 30 minutes south of Franklin, 45 minutes south of Nashville. But guess what? You don't even have to show up. They can do it all over the phone, all over email, all over text, get you the car that you want, service parts, it doesn't matter. Lionsford.net, Lions Ford, Lewisburg, Tennessee. But this has been Football and Other Efforts, and you have just been effed.